Okay, what I'm holding right here is something that shouldn't beggar belief, but it beggars belief. Look at this. What this is a letter to President Obama's energy secretary requesting funding from the Energy Department as part of the stimulus package. Funding that would, quote, employ 100 people over a 3-year period. The person who signed it, the person who signed this letter asking for stimulus money to create 100 jobs is this guy.
Well, the idea is not to grow government, but to grow the economy, create jobs. Unfortunately, the stimulus package passed by the House fails on this count.
Republican Congressman Dan Lundgren of California making it very clear last year that that darn stimulus package is not going to create any jobs. Then here's the same guy, Dan Lundgren, writing to the Energy Department a month after that tape that you just saw, 1 month later, asking for stimulus money to create jobs in his district. But wait, I thought you said the stimulus couldn't do that. Congressman Lundgren, like practically every other Republican in the country, has spent much of the last year trashing the stimulus package at every turn, attacking the stimulus as not only useless, not only something that won't create jobs, but as something that's even worse than useless, something that's harmful to the economy. If you pass this stimulus, the economy will be worse off than if you don't pass this stimulus. The stimulus is hurting the country's economy. That's what Republicans have been saying in public, and then proving in private that they don't actually believe. That letter that I just read was posted online today by the Wall Street Journal, which has found yet another treasure trove of Republicans trying to run against the Obama record by talking all sorts of smack about the Obama record, but then proving they don't actually believe all that smack that they've been talking. Take Republican Congressman Doug Lamborn of Colorado. Last year, Congressman Lamborn voted against the stimulus bill, and he voted against it with glee and an exclamation point, saying, quote, this spending bill is a sorry substitute for a comprehensive economic stimulus plan. It will actually weaken our nation's long-term economic growth. 12 days later, Congressman Lamborn writes to the Obama administration asking for stimulus funds for projects in his district, saying, quote, these projects will create jobs. The jobs, he wrote, will provide significant stimulus to our state and national economy. That was 12 days after he says the stimulus will weaken our nation's long-term economic growth. Also signing on to that letter, requesting stimulus funds for projects to create jobs, was Republican Congressman Mike Coffman of Colorado, the same Mike Coffman who said this about the stimulus 1 month prior.
The American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009 is a massive and wasteful government spending bill that will not stimulate our economy, but will recklessly plunge our nation deeper and deeper into debt.
But please, Obama administration, may I please have some of that awful, harmful money so I can bring jobs to my district? Because I think it'll help. Republican Congressman Lynn Westmoreland of Georgia blasted the stimulus as, quote, unnecessary spending that won't create jobs. Remember that won't create jobs part of it. Because he then wrote to the Energy Department asking for stimulus funds for a research lab in his district. He wrote, quote, the research laboratory would employ 25 to 50 scientists and technicians with secondary employment of up to 400 people. So says the guy who says it wouldn't create any jobs. Republican Congressman Jack Kingston joined Mr. Westmoreland in pleading for that stimulus money to create jobs in his district in Georgia. That would be this Jack Kingston.
Mr. President, where's the stimulus package? Where are the jobs? This is not the change the folks in Coffee County, Georgia can use. They need jobs.
They need jobs. They don't need that stimulus that won't provide jobs. So please, can I have some stimulus money so I can get jobs for my district? Because I think it'll work. Remember Republican Congressman Zach Wamp of Tennessee? When Zach Wamp wasn't busy dodging questions about his time living at C Street, Zach Wamp was busy inveighing against that wasteful, good-for-nothing, irresponsible Democratic stimulus bill.
It does many things that are not stimulating, so they shouldn't call this a stimulus bill. The vast majority of this is just social spending. It's a transfer payment from one taxpayer over to other people.
Social engineering, transfer of wealth. It is anything but stimulus. It is not going to create jobs. After Zach Wamp said that, he wrote this to the Energy Department asking for those horrible, terrible, no good, very bad stimulus funds, writing specifically that he wanted the money to, quote, create about 200 manufacturing jobs in Georgia and 120 in Tennessee. It will create more than 1,000 total jobs when the direct jobs and indirect jobs created by this proposal are added together. Because it's so stimulative. Also voting against the stimulus and trashing it publicly was Republican Congressman Michael Turner of Ohio, who last month said, quote, more Americans believe Elvis is alive than those that believe stimulus created jobs. We'll put Mr. Turner in the second category, because here he is asking for stimulus money for a, quote, project that will create and retain highly skilled jobs that only people who would believe in Elvis would believe would be real jobs. If you remember the stimulus debate at all, and I know it was a long time ago, you'll recall lots of doomsday rhetoric about it.
The bill before us is a $1 trillion mistake that will harm working families like Greg's, deprive them of hope, and damage our already recessed economy.
A few months after trashing the stimulus, Republican Congressman Thaddeus McCotter undercut his own credibility rather dramatically by asking for that horrible bad stimulus funding, quote, to invest in vital homegrown technologies and job creation. Ditto Republican Senator Sam Brownback of Texas.
The bill that is in front of us, I think, is neither prudent nor responsible. I don't think it's going to get us out of the hole that we're in. I think it just digs a hole deeper. It's spending a lot of money, and it's not going to stimulate the economy.
It's not going to stimulate the economy. I think I said Texas before. Sam Brownback, of course, of Kansas. Senator Brownback then asked the Energy Department for a piece of that unstimulative, will dig us into a deeper hole money. He said, quote, funding for this project will support job creation in the near term. Job creation by that thing that's not going to create jobs. Republicans continue to prove over and over again that they are not at all embarrassed by stuff like this. Democrats, on the other hand, are proving themselves yet again to be afraid of their own shadows. Democrats think they're going to get beaten in this year's election, so they're essentially refusing to campaign. That's a surefire way to win. What could they campaign on? Well, Republicans apparently think that Democrats could be campaigning on reforming the health care system in this country, because a ton of the stuff that Democrats did in the health reform bill, Republicans just put in their new pledge to America. And they are now running on that as if it is their own record and what they want to do, as if they're not talking all sorts of smack about health reform and how it needs to be repealed. They are running on those ideas because they think the American people will like those ideas. Democrats, on the other hand, actually implemented those ideas, and they're refusing to run on them. And with the stimulus, it is the exact same thing. Republicans are trying to bring home to their constituents all of the economic benefits of the stimulus plan, all of the jobs that it will create, while talking all sorts of smack about the stimulus, saying it doesn't work, saying it's a waste. They're trying to take credit for the fact that it does work. Republicans have no problem running on the Democrats' record, but Democrats apparently will not. As we said on this show last night, Democrats have a weird inferiority complex when it comes to campaigning. They like their own ideas better, but they like the way that Republicans run for office better. Well, the way that Republicans are running for office this year is by running on the Democratic policy achievements of this year. Democrats, if you don't believe in yourself enough to do that, just copy what the Republicans are doing, because they're running on your record.